Hello. Hey everybody. Uh, it's me, Evan, your host. I don't know what the show's called. Maybe we'll just make that the name of the show. I don't know. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video. Today, the topic is meditation. I've done my usual, just mind mapping of different ideas I want to talk about, different points I want to touch on, things I want to communicate, ideas I want to get across. And some of these are just lessons I've learnt from my many years of meditating. Well, I say many, 6 years. I've been meditating on and off, like pretty consistently though. Like it's kind of something that's been with me, that I've been doing for most of the last 6 years of my life. I started when I was 16. Actually, when I moved, I'm here visiting my family for the weekend, leaving later today, but when I moved here from my hometown, that's actually when I started meditating, because I would have to wake up super early for school, usually at about 5 or 5:30. I'd wake up to be able to get ready and leave for the bus at 7 o'clock, because I had to walk 20 minutes to the bus stop. And I found that most mornings, as long as I got to bed early enough, I generally wake up at 5 o'clock, about half an hour before my alarm would go off at 5:30. And so during that half an hour after I woke up but before my alarm went off, I'd usually just lie in bed and just enjoy, without even realizing that I was at the time. I look back on it now and I understand I was meditating, because I would just lay in bed and just listen to whatever I could hear. I would just observe whatever was going on with my senses and focus on my breath, and maybe think about the dream I was just having, or listen to the birds singing, or the roosters crowing, or the cows mooing, or whatever it might have been. And so, something I've noticed, or the first thing I learnt, or the first thing I realized that sort of shifted, and all these different things I'm going to talk about are sort of just along the 6 years I've been meditating. It's just at some random point I've just had a little sort of realization, and it's shifted my mindset towards it, and it's helped me, I guess, just have a better relationship with it, become more consistent with it, or enjoy it more, or just get more out of it, or any of those sorts of things. And the first thing I came to realize is it's not about stopping your thoughts. I feel like that's kind of like maybe a myth that people hear about or think about when they think of meditation. They might think, you got to stop your thoughts from happening altogether, and that is a futile effort. So futile. Your mind is designed to think, so there's no point in trying to stop it from thinking, because that's what it's going to do no matter what, right? But what meditation is about is becoming aware of when you start thinking, of when your mind starts to wander. So yeah, and you develop an awareness of where your focus is in the first place, and when your focus or attention shifts to something else, or starts to get broken by some sort of distraction. And that's probably the biggest thing I've gotten out of meditation to this day, is just noticing when I'm not present. And it's incredibly valuable whenever I'm talking to someone, or whenever I'm in somebody's company with someone, hanging out with them, like a good friend of mine or a family member, or even just someone at work or whatever situation I'm in. I've always noticed that whenever I've been meditating consistently at any given period of my life, I'll be talking to someone in a conversation and they'll say something to me. And if my mind starts to wander during that sentence, that particular thing that they're saying to me, that sentence, I will instantaneously notice my mind just wandered off and I started to think about something completely irrelevant, completely off topic to what's happening here in the conversation. And I'll just pause and go, wait, sorry, what was that you just said? I just completely wandered off for a moment. And they'll say, oh, no problem, and just tell me what it was. But then now that they tell me it again, like now that I'm back here and I'm back present and aware and listening to what they're saying, I'm actually able to take it in, take it on board and, give a response or keep on listening or whatever might happen. So that's something I've found that's been incredibly valuable for me. It's just in those little moments where I'm talking to people, noticing when I wander off and then I don't miss things in the conversation and the other person knows that I'm actually listening and I'm actually there with them and I'm actually present in the conversation that I'm having with them. So, it feels good to be fully present with people that I'm talking to when I am talking to them and when I'm with them. That's a big takeaway, big thing that's helped me with. And yeah, I guess you've got to. I found that it's only really been sustainable for me, like doing it consistently for longer periods of time. It's only been sustainable for me when I've removed and sort of let go of ulterior motives. I found that whenever I've come at meditation from this standpoint of I want to meditate so that X, Y, Z, so that I'm better at this, or so that this happens, or whatever it might be, for whatever reason, if there's some sort of ulterior motive to meditating, I found that it's not quite as fun, because the thing is, you can't, the results of meditation aren't really measurable or that tangible. I mean, they might be tangible, like how I was just saying, how I noticed that I'm more present when I'm talking to people, but they're not measurable. So you can't really start meditating and then after a certain amount of days, weeks or months, you get to a certain point and you're like, yes, I'm at this level of meditation. To my knowledge, there's not really like a hierarchy that you can move. There's not a ladder you can move up in meditation. It's just you meditate. There's a bunch of really positive consequences that come from that meditation that you do consistently. And when I'm not meditating, I notice that those things aren't so evident in my life. So, but it's kind of tricky because, you can kind of sometimes ask myself, well, when I think about this, and I wrote this down just then even, I was thinking, well, if you don't have any ulterior motive to meditating, then sort of, I guess some people might wonder why meditate at all. And to that, I'd say, do it and find out. If you meditate and for, and you've got to do it you can't just meditate for one day and be like, oh, well, I didn't notice a difference. No, don't kid yourself. You've got to do it for I'd say at least a few weeks. Do it for three weeks. Try and do it for a month, every day. See what happens. And try and have fun with it. That's something else I've noticed, is that whenever I've gone into it from this feeling of, with this attitude of like, I'm doing this for an ulterior motive, it starts to feel like a chore for me personally. It's like, oh, I've got to do this thing so that I can achieve this result or have this outcome. And then on the days when I don't feel like doing it, there's pretty low chance that I'm actually going to push through that resistance and just get it done and do it, because I'm not doing it just for the sake of doing it, for the love of doing it, for the joy of doing it, which I found has been a much more powerful place to come from. Is, yeah, when I go to meditate and I'm just doing it for the pure joy of doing it, to give my mind a break, then it's so much nicer, it's so much more enjoyable, because your mind needs a break. And sure, you know, I guess you're technically giving your mind a break when you sleep, but usually people are thinking about things as they're drifting off to sleep. They fall asleep, they go unconscious, and then as soon as they wake up, boom, their mind just launches straight back into thinking about things and goes off with on whatever tangents. So when you meditate, you're still conscious, but it's like the clouds clear, the clutter goes away. It's like you're just giving your mind a much needed break, a rest from just constantly going and constantly thinking and constantly stressing, and what about this and what about that and blah 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 blah, and the future and the past and no, you're just here, you're just now, and that's all there is. And it's serene, it's peaceful, it's quiet, it's not always quiet, but that brings me to my next point. You have to accept what is. And by that I mean, well, whatever's happening, you have to find a way of letting go of you probably have like a feeling of, I want this to be different right now. Say you're meditating and, you know, your housemate or your family member starts vacuuming down the other end of the house, and it's you know, it's not that loud, but it's quite noticeable, and it's a bit irritating because you're trying to peacefully sit and meditate. The thing is, that's how reality is in that moment, right? Someone's vacuuming. And so all you can do about that, I mean, sure, you could go and ask them if they could stop vacuuming for 10-15 minutes while you finish your meditation. But I would say that an even better thing to do is to try and just find a place within yourself where you can just accept that for what it is and just be okay with it. And this is something it's kind of almost like become like a little mini game for me when I meditate. If there's all these really loud, obnoxious things, or, you know, distractions and things, sounds and whatever happening around me, it's this fun little game I play where how can I remain just equanimous, steady, calm in the face of all this stuff happening around me, and just remain present and aware and in my, you know, staying aware of my senses, and I can be aware of the things happening. I'm not like trying to block it out, but I'm just not attached to it. I'm not getting caught up in, oh, like, gosh, that's so loud and so obnoxious, and why do they have to be doing that right now? And I don't have any of those thoughts anymore. Once upon a time, I definitely would have, back in the day, you know, whenever things came up, and just be like, get a bit frustrated. But I'm glad I've gotten to a point now where I can just comfortably sit, and no matter what's happening around me, I'll remain quite calm and non-blasé about it. I'll stay quite blasé about it. I think that's the word. And something I found that I was doing for quite a time was I would list things in my head as I would become aware of them. So, if I heard some birds tweeting or singing songs and going crazy, I'd just, oh, there's some birds. And then I hear a car go by, oh, there's a car. And then I hear, like a thump from next door neighbor walking around in their house. Oh, there's footsteps. There's something else. I hear a rustle in the bushes, Wouldn't recommend, because then I found that when I would do that, then my mind would just go off those things and just start to go on tangents from those things. So, and maybe it'll help you for a time period to sort of just become more present. If it's a step forward for you, if you're going from your mind's all over the place and you're not even kind of aware of anything that's happening around you or any sort of sensory experience that's happening, that might be a good step forward to just list things that you can hear or smell, or I don't know, maybe you just ate some breakfast or food or whatever and you can taste a little bit of the food you just ate. And that might be a good step forward for you, but I would not keep doing it for as long as you feel like, if you feel like you can sort of do that without having to list it at a certain point, then yeah, I would kind of move on from it. I guess you could think of it as, I like to think of it as being, when I'm meditating, I'm like a wallflower. I'm just pure observation. I'm pure awareness. It's almost as if everything else about me, about being human, just gets temporarily put on hold. It's like, I'm not doing all this other stuff. Right now, I'm just existing as awareness, as I'm an observer, nothing else. And I wrote this down. I like this line. Observe sensation through your senses. And by that, I mean something that always helps me to stay aware or come back to being present is just noticing sensations. What can I feel in my body? I'm aware of my posture. I check my posture. Straighten my back, keep it straight, keep it up, keep my shoulders relaxed and down. I sometimes notice if it's a warm day and I'm meditating outside, I can feel quite a bit of warmth radiating off my skin, off my body. I can sometimes, if it's really warm, I can feel a little bit of sweat dripping down from my armpits, or like just little points of my body where the skin's touching, so that warmth is radiating, and just I can feel the heat of my body. Or I can, if it's a windy day, I can feel the wind and the breeze on my skin, and I can hear sounds. I usually do it with my eyes closed, but even then, even when I meditate with my eyes closed, I'm kind of still, I guess you could say, I'm looking at the back of my eyelids. So if there's, a plane flying over flying through the sky, and it happens to momentarily pass through, a spot on the sun that kind of blocks the light out for a second, I notice that sort of shift. Or if there's a bird that flies over, that whatever happens, it changes the light. I notice those sorts of things. I'm always constantly bringing my awareness back to my breath. That's probably the easiest thing that I find helps me bring my awareness back to the present, is just my breath, just listening. To the sound of my own breath and feeling the air fill my lungs, and then feeling that air leave my lungs. That's probably the thing that's helped me the most. And I do this, when I meditate, I do something called Ujjai Breathing. It's a form of breathing that you do in yoga, in a lot of yoga practices. In a lot of different types of yoga, they use Ujjai Breathing, and it's also called ocean breath. I would recommend looking it up, learning about it, figuring out how to do it, doing, experimenting, trying to learn, trying to teach yourself how to do it. And if you know someone who does Ujjai Breathing, such as me, message me if you want to, and I don't know, I could call you up and explain it to you, or like if you know me well enough to have, I don't know, to have me on socials or whatever, and you're interested, then yeah, feel free to call me up and I'll explain it to you. But the reason it's called ocean breath is when you breathe in this certain way, you create a sound within your nasal cavity, kind of just behind your nose, kind of at the back of your throat. It creates this kind of little raspiness, a bit of a raspiness that sounds a little bit reminiscent of the sound of the ocean, of waves crashing. Because as you breathe in, it's kind of like the waves coming in, and then there's that pause. It's like the waves crashing, and then you breathe out, and it's like as you're breathing in, the waves coming in, and then you breathe out, and the wave crashes and goes up to the shore, and then goes back out, and so on and so forth. So I find that really helps oxygenate my cells, the cells of my body, really well. And when I breathe, I also focus on pulling my lungs downwards into my belly instead of bringing my chest upwards, kind of into my rib cage, which is a bit constricting. I find that I push my belly out, and I bring my lungs down as far as I can when I breathe, and that allows me to get so much more oxygen into my lungs and oxygenate my cells that much more. But also making that sound helps me just bring my focus back to the present. Oh yeah, by the way, I used to do this for so long, I can't even remember how long it was that I would do this for. It's only kind of, I guess, just recently, maybe in the last 6 months or so, that I've stopped doing this. But don't beat yourself up or judge yourself when you notice that your mind wanders. It's going to happen all the time, no matter what. So I've gotten to a point now where I'm present, I'm aware, observing sensation through my senses and all that jazz. My mind starts to wander, and I just notice, my mind's wandering. And I'll just pull my focus back. It's like a balloon. I let go of it, and I just go grab it, I just pull it back down. But there was so long where I'd noticed my mind's wandering, and my mind's wandering, damn it, I lost my focus, and I'd start beating myself up and judging myself because I lost my focus and this and that, and that doesn't help. That just doesn't make it, it's not as fun when you're just constantly beating yourself up for losing focus, because it's going to be constantly happening. And I even came up with a little bit of an exercise where I came up with a little bit of an exercise that I tried out a few weeks ago when I was meditating, and I think it was the day before I did this. I came up with the idea of making this video, and I did this exercise where I held something, and whenever I noticed that my mind was wandering and I lost my focus and I wasn't present, I dropped the thing. So I was sitting on the couch. I think I held my phone, and I was holding my phone, and while I was staying present, I was holding it, and then I noticed my mind wanders, and I drop it, and then just pick it straight back up as soon as I became present again. So and I noticed that I was just the whole time I was meditating, I was just constantly drop, pick up, every 5, 10, 20 seconds, whatever it was. I just drop my phone, pick it back up, drop, pick it back up, drop, pick it back up, every single time. And I guess if it works better for you, you could try vice versa. You could try the other way around. You could have something sitting on a table or a couch or whatever you're meditating on the floor, and whenever you notice your mind wanders, you could pick it up and then drop it back down as soon as you're present again. Whatever works for you. I just thought it was a fun little exercise you could try. If it helps, awesome. If it doesn't, oh well, just stop doing it, I guess. Oh, something I almost forgot to do was, I'll show you this diagram here is from a video. It's a Hamza video that I was watching about meditation a couple of weeks ago, and when I watched this Hamza's video about it, it inspired me to make my own about it. But when he used this diagram to explain meditation, I thought it was brilliant, because it just helps people understand the whole process of meditating and how it's going to constantly be, this is constantly going to be happening throughout the whole time that you're meditating. Oh my god, I'm so hot. I am so ridiculously hot right now. Whew. There we go, much better. And so in that photo here, you'll see, yeah, you start off, you're mindful of the present moment. Your focus and attention is here. You are observing sensation through your senses. Then your mind wanders, start thinking about random things popping into your head, or whatever it might be. Then you realize you're thinking about things, that you're no longer focused, that you're no longer present. So then you just bring your concentration back to the present moment. And when I saw that, it was wonderful. It just encapsulates it so well. So that's, I guess, an easy way to think about it, to figure it out. Some training wheels. So I've written down this little point where I wrote training wheels. So if you've never meditated, you've never tried meditating in your whole life, and you'd like to start, or you'd like to at least give it a try and see what it's all about, there are some ways that kind of make it a bit easier to do when you're first starting, and I've written down a bit of a list here. So, as I said before, observe sensation through your senses. So anything that helps you kind of bring your attention to something is helpful for being present. So things such as watching a candle flame, or even watching a fire of any sort, watching a flame of any sort. But I guess most of the time, you know, unless you're meditating in front of your fire in your house and it's the middle of winter, probably not going to be watching flames unless you have a candle. So you get a candle, put it in front of you, sit down, meditate, and just watch the candle flame flicker. That's something that really will help you. Just, you know, you're focusing on the candle flame and just watching it. It's not too interesting that most of the time you probably won't start to go off in thoughts because of the candle flame itself, but it's just enough, so it's just interesting enough that it'll hold your attention. And the same goes for things like, if you know what you chant the sound Om. So sometimes I even do this just because I love doing it, just because I love, you know, the feeling of chanting Om. You're sitting there, and then I just do that over and over again. And so watching flames, you're seeing something. If you're a visual person, that could help with you. If you're an auditory person, then Om chanting could help with you. Or if you're a kinesthetic person, you like the feeling of the vibration in your throat and kind of in your chest and head and whatever. It's very nice for that. If you're a tactile, kind of more kinesthetic person, you might want to try like squeezing a stress ball as you meditate, and just gently squeezing that over and over again, just slowly and steadily, and that maybe that'll help you focus. These are just ideas I'm just came up with that I'm just throwing out. I've only ever done, I've only ever watched Candle Flame and chanted Om. You could maybe listen to white noise. Try just playing a track of white noise on your laptop or phone or whatever, putting on some headphones and having that. Maybe that could help. Or something I have done actually is guided meditations. Try looking up different guided meditations online. See if you can find one that works for you or that you resonate with. That's helpful, especially when you're first starting out. And I guess you could also consider things like if there's a fan going in your room or somewhere nearby you and you can just hear the sort of the steady, repetitive, rhythmic sound of a fan going or an air condition system going, that could help. I've never tried this, but if you're into essential oils, you get an oil diffuser and you could put that on while you meditate so you can smell something, and maybe that could be something that helps you bring your focus and attention and be more present when you can smell that smell. It's like, that's right, I'm here meditating, brings your attention back. Or just being aware of your posture. So that's probably the two main things for me, is just listening to sounds I can hear, being aware of my posture and what's happening in my body and my breath. Those are probably just my three core things that always help me bring my focus back. Experiment. Find your own ways of enjoying it. And that's the key. You've got to experiment with different things until you find something that helps you enjoy it for what it is. And when you can find a way of enjoying the experience of meditating, then it's not a chore. It's not this thing you have to do. It becomes this thing you want to do. I look forward to meditating in the morning when I wake up. It's nice. It's nice and peaceful. And when you first start out, you might just want to give it, try it for 5 minutes at a time. Just five minutes, do that every day. And once you feel like you're getting comfortable with doing it for 5 minutes, try 6 minutes, 7 minutes, or try 10 minutes if you feel like you can jump up to that. For a while, when I've been through periods where I've only meditated for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then after a while I'd tried 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and now I'm at a point where I like to meditate for half an hour, and I do it in full lotus position. That kind of just all adds to that sensory input, which makes it easy to stay present. But yeah, I guess go forth and explore the realms of meditation. I would highly recommend it. Oh yeah, by the way, if you got a lot of value out of this video and from the ways that I was explaining things or the different exercises I was sharing or the ideas that I was throwing out, and you feel like you could move forward in different areas of life from other similar content like this, go ahead and subscribe. I will be putting content like this out as consistently as I can, so hopefully every week or so, at least a video or two. That's what I'm aiming for at the moment, while trying to juggle everything else in my life. And if you feel like you would get a lot of value out of being coached by me, I am providing coaching services. I'll put a link down in the description below. Feel free to go check that out and see if you would, get some value out of that. Have a lovely day. I'll see you in the next one. And as always, if I die, then so be it.